I'm sorry.
Do you want to light the Shabbat candle this evening? Yes. Yes, let's light the Shabbat candle. There you go. All right, we'll do it with you. You tell me. Yeah. I like that. Do you want me to go with the light piece? The same. You're holding this?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat to our friends and family at home who are joining us via live stream. As you probably noticed, we are not in the sanctuary, we are in the chapel. We have a gorgeous new bima to share with everyone, but it's not quite ready for this Shabbat, so join us again next week and you can see the refinished bima in all of its glory. So it is good to be with everyone. I'm Rabbi Jerry Newberg. I'm with the lovely Cantor Farron Rudnick and the talented and much beloved Andy Heller. And so we're so glad to share the Shabbat service with all of you. We are going to begin on page 128 at the top as we join together in Kine Matov, how good it is for us to be together.
I just want to make one comment before we begin. Those of you at home, I don't know if you can see Rabbi's kippah. I really love it. It's baseball. It's very different. I love it.
'Tis the season. Who knows? to pages 120, 121, and we are honored to have Janet Magley with us to light the Shabbat candles. in loving memory of her husband, whose yard site we observed this evening. Nope.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. These two English. Yes, please.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Blessed Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonu our God, strength, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvah, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And we turn the page as Cantor leads us in Kiddush.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzaqanu v'shabbat chodshah זיכרון למעשי בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילת למקראי קודש, זכר נטיעת מצרים, כי באנו ואותנו גירשנו
We have taken a moment to usher in Shabbat with the blessings over the candles and Kiddush, and so we take a moment to usher in Shabbat for each of us, and so please turn to the folks next to you, behind you, in front of you. If you don't know them, introduce yourselves, wish them a Shabbat We have one more person to welcome this evening, and that is the Sabbath Friday, which we do beginning on page 138, joining together in Lachado Day.
That's fine.
Shabbat,
We turn the page and join together in our blessing for God's creation. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Sabaoth is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aramim. And on page 151, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Elohim Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. The top of 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it by joining hands, marching together.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you,
Our rabbis were very well aware that the world we occupy is a very uncertain and precarious place. And so they drafted this beautiful prayer, the Hashivenu, which beseeches God to protect us in the evening, a time of the greatest uncertainty. And so this beautiful prayer, we begin on the left side of the page with the English, and then we'll transition over to the right side of the page to continue in the Hebrew.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from us. Let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from us. Hashivenu. Hashivenu, Adonai Eloheinu.
There are many storms we often need to navigate through life, and that we often have to face the storm of illness and sickness, in its many forms. And so we take a moment in our service to offer up a prayer of healing for all of those in need. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing. May the Holy Blessed One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. Though Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand for those in our community we think of this evening. Eliyahu ben Moshe, Mel Claver, Stephen Cohen, Pearl Corson, Dylan Elliott, Gary Fink, Gordon Fink, Sylvia Goldberg, Victoria Sedman Hales, Sarah Hetznecker Sheehan, Lee Sarah Hillerson, Hannah Leese, Stephen Lishnoff, Ken Paul, William H. Simon, Cindy Spector, Edith Witt, Luca Zetchman, along with all those we hold in our hearts at this time as we join with Cantor in singing the Mishaberach found on page 371.
Pages 164 and following as we rise for the tefillah. Adonai sepatai tifta uvia itehi hatecha. Adonai open up my lips, set my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Ha'torah, Tovim, ve'olei ha'kol, ve'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevig v'lolim v'bneihem, ve'man shemo ve'ahava, melech ozer u'mashiach u'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Nezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'am Adonai, mechayeh ha'kol atarav le'hoshia, morit ha'atam, mechapel chayim v'chesed, mechayeh ha'kol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verafeh cholim, u'matir
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And on page 177, a prayer of gratitude. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha L'cha Ma'el Hodot. Before we continue with our prayer for peace, we know that there is not peace for most of us on earth. And so we take a moment to offer a special prayer for those in Ukraine who are truly struggling at this moment. Holy Blessed One, source of strength, there is a war and innocent people are dying. We ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and the security of the country, and for the neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, Romania, among others, that have opened their borders to provide humanitarian corridors and safe passage for all those who wish to evacuate. We seek the comfort of believing that everything will be all right, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Quiet the fears that threaten to deafen us. Grant us shlemut, the inner peace we so desperately seek. Help us remain calm and reach out to those in need. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions during this turbulent time. Bless the people of all nations with the desire, strength, and courage to create a world based on justice and filled with peace. And may the words of Isaiah chapter 2 come true in this very hour. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Source of goodness, shine your healing light on us and all those in the Ukraine we hold in our hearts. Shelter us, shield us, show us the path to peace, and together we say, Amen. Page 178, Shalom Rav. Grant us abundant peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice to have so many people here. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Growing up, I was taught these 6 words were the, quote, watchword of our faith, the essence of what we believe as Jews, though at the time I did not realize they came from the Torah. The Shema continues to represent our fundamental belief in the one God, but I haven't heard it called the watchword of our faith in years. What we call the Shema in Reform Judaism is actually just the leading verse of many that constitute this prayer. In other denominations, the subsequent verses, which we refer to as the Ve'ahavta, is in fact still part of the Shema, and it is all found in this week's Torah portion, the Et Hanan. Given our turbulent times, spending a few minutes reflecting on the meaning of the Shema seems particularly worthwhile. Many commentators, both ancient and modern, reflect on the import of these words, one of which is Rabbeinu Bachya, my personal favorite, a medieval Spanish rabbi who highlights both the monotheistic focus as well as the comprehensive nature of the Torah verse. He wrote, "You should realize that the whole subject of God's uniqueness relates to serving God with one's heart. Seeing that people who speak to another person sometimes concentrate on what they are saying, and sometimes they don't and are distracted, the Torah writes Shema, an instruction which dictates that the mind and the ear are attuned to each other. One is not only to relate to God by hearing with one's ear, but by opening one's heart to what one is about to hear with one's ear. When saying the Shema, one must not only make sure that our ears hear them, but we must be certain that our heart is attuned at the same time." His instruction is an important reminder for us to focus on any task at hand, and certainly to offer our prayers in a holistic way, not simply perform them in a routine or distracted manner. And we can see the wisdom of keeping our minds and hearts and ears unified in what we do and experience. But Judaism often has more to teach us than simply the proper way to pray. The lessons are equally applicable to life. For instance, another medieval rabbi teaches a very simple lesson. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad means, listen, Israel, with your mind open. Having just vacationed in Arizona at the end of July, just before the Republican primaries in that state, I can assure you that an open mind can be a very challenging proposition. The ads broadcast on TV are powerful, and we are experiencing a similar political environment in Pennsylvania for Senate and governor. Having an open mind is critical when it comes to the world of politics, and it is equally important in our everyday lives, interacting with our families, friends, neighbors, and others we may come into contact with in any number of settings. The words we call Shema remind us to listen, but listen in a way without preconceived notions or judgment. No easy task for most of us. And just in case you think we are stuck in the dark ages with the commentary, a modern rabbi, the former chief rabbi of Britain, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, wrote, "I have argued that the word Shema is fundamentally untranslatable into English, since it means so many things: to hear, to listen, to pay attention, to understand, to internalize, to respond, to obey. It is one of the motif words of the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, where it appears no less than 92 times, more than in any other book of the Torah. Time and again in the last month of his life, Moses told the people, Shema, listen, Heed, pay attention. Hear what I am saying. Hear what God is saying. Listen to what God wants from us, if you would only listen. Listening with an open mind is also essential on a communal level. Professor Donna Hicks lays out the essential elements of dignity, and one of these essential elements is active listening. She teaches that understanding can only be achieved when we give others the chance to explain and express their points of view, and we actively listen in order to understand them. She reminds the reader that this is especially important when we are encountering an adversary or when we are facing a challenge with someone. We often respond with an attack or one-upsmanship. This idea of actively listening allows us to step back from such a confrontational response and instead open ourselves up to hearing what the other person has to share. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. And it is hard to believe that 5 years ago, this rally took place, inciting violence, hate, and loss of life. This year, to commemorate that tragic day, the Charlottesville interfaith community is banding together for a service they are calling Unite the Light. Here is a moment when individual and communities are looking past their differences to truly hear and be present for each other. And then in the book, The Spirituality of Imperfection, we read, all community begins in listening. Spirituality, wisdom, and that which all seek is initially transmitted from one person to another by attending, which means to be present in a hearing way, to listen to others in such a way that we are willing to surrender our own worldview. But if we would listen, we must also tell. And if we would tell our stories, we need places where we can tell and listen. In this mutuality between telling and listening, between speaking and hearing, lies the deepest spiritual significance. Those wrestling with spiritual dilemmas do not need answers, but presence, permission to confront the dilemma and struggle with it aloud. This is the yin and yang of the Shema. We must listen, but we also must proclaim and share our sacred words with ourselves and with each other. When we do this wholeheartedly, as our tradition instructs us, we build a much healthier sense of self, of trust, and of community. In the wake of the hate and destruction we marked last Saturday with Tisha B'Av, in the wake of events like Unite the Right, in the wake of political and social turmoil, it is more important than ever to listen to each other, even if we do not like what we hear. May the coming days be filled with acknowledgement of the other, filled with dignity and filled with peace, so that we may live together in shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We return to our prayer books, page 586, as we rise for ELohim. as we prepare to recite Kaddish, as we mark the yard sites of loved ones, we turn to page 576 and join together in the recitation of Psalm 23. Page 576. A Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I lack nothing. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me to water in places of repose. God renews my life. God guides me in right paths as befits God's name. Though I walk through a valley of deepest darkness, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table for me in full view of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My drink is abundant. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai for many long years. So it is that we remember our loved ones who have died most recently and for whom we are in the period of Shloshim. As we remember with love Robert Bobby Bergelson, Arnold Arnie S. Kagan, Jim Furness, Henry Levin, Stephanie Shockley. And we remember our loved ones who died at this season in years past, as we remember Morris Barrett, Sandra Barrett, Samuel Berger, Doris Lucille Kane, Jerome B. Cohen, Joseph Cohen, Ione Dusenberry, Pauline Fetterman, Benjamin Frankfurt, Herbert Friedman, May Friedland, Richard Garach, Morris Greenspun, Theodore Harmon, Oscar Hartman, Kate Hoffman, Ira J. Kahn. We remember Bess Kay, Harry Kaiser, Jacob M. Kirshner, Anne Klevenoff, Gertrude Cotlin, Frida Litz, Louis Lieberman, Betty Litz, Israel Litz, Gertrude Lotman, Samuel Lotman, Hillard Madway, Selma Margulies, Gail Stephanie Maslow, Samantha Nash. And we remember Stanley Polsky, Barbara Rosser, Judith Rzinski, Leonard Ross, Herbert Savartnik, Tilly Sedlick, Lena Schenkman, Carol Lynn Simon, Beatrice Schlesinger, Virginia Steinfeld, Irving Stone, Benjamin Weiss, Joseph T. Weiss, Samuel U. Wolfe, Claire Blank Wolkoff, Dorothy Yaffe, Charles J. Young, Henry Zellner, Martin Zuger. Zichronom Livracha. May their memories be an eternal blessing as we turn to page 598 and join together, rising for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'barach le'olam l'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitahar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kedusha v'rivku. Le'ela min kol virchata v'shirata. Tishkachata v'nechamata. Damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mishemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'ramah. Uyasei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the Holy Blessed One who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated, except the one, the only, the diligent, the devoted. Colleen earlier, Kevin.
Shabbat Shalom. Wow, it's
Shabbat
so nice to
Shalom.
look out and
Shalom.
see so many people in one of my favorite worship spaces. And a special thank you to Rabbi Newberg, Cantor Rudnick, to Andy Heller for leading us tonight in such a beautiful service. Join Rabbi Newberg tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for Torah study, followed by Shabbat morning service. Both Torah study and services will be available in person and on Zoom. And a special reminder that there will be no Havdalah with the Rudnicks tomorrow night. Shabbat at the Shore is finally here. We hope you will join us next Friday night, August the 19th at 6:30 p.m. Services and dinner will be held at the home of Terry and Amy Buckman in Ventnor. Please call the temple office to RSVP and for additional details. For those of us who will not be at the shore, and we will be in MLRT, please join us for services that begin at 6:30, and Rabbi Steinbrink will be giving the sermon, Tikva or Akzava? Is Israel still hope, or is it a disappointment? Please remember to save the date for September the 9th to the 11th for our Welcome Back weekend and Artist in Residence Dan Nichols. Tickets are on sale for a special night out with Nichols on September the 10th, when MLRT will be transformed into an adult-only beer garden and concert venue. Details are on the MLRT website. Fair and secure elections are made possible by thousands of Pennsylvanians just like you, who serve as poll workers, which is why recruiting poll workers is a top priority for RAC-PA Every Voice, Every Vote campaign. RAC-PA is in partnership with the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania to prepare people to serve as poll workers. Poll workers serve in the county where they are registered to vote. 17-year-olds can be poll workers with permission from their parent or guardian and high school principal. To learn more, to sign up to be a poll worker in your community, visit the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters website, palwv.org. You will find complete information about all of our programs in the MLRT e-news and on our website at www.mlrt.org. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Helene, as always.
You know, freezing about.
This will be a poll watcher and poll dancer.
No. Page 626, an oldie but a goodie. Ain't Eloheinu in whatever kid. You won't be my kid, but it'll be somebody's kid.
In this room, I can hear all of your voices, so really, whatever came. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for our own egg, and we look forward to continuing Shabbat with you upstairs.
Shabbat Shalom. Everybody can bring their prayer books back and we'll put them on the wall. Thank you.